the innovation that blockchain has brought to us is not much the cryptocurrency, which is one of those use case, but a little thing, just the tip of the iceberg, is the fact that in the digital world, you can have singularity, uniqueness.
Hey, Roberto, how you doing, bud?
Hey, doing good. How are you doing? Thank you for having me here.
I'm doing great. Hey, thanks for joining us. So excited to get to know you better. Some of the exciting things you've been doing. It looks like for quite a while now, but you're still, at the tip of the spear in advancing a lot of technology that, we need to learn more about because honestly, we don't know enough about. So welcome to the Business Line podcast. Why don't you kick us off and let our audience know a little bit about you and kind of how you got into what you're doing these days.
All right. So, hello, everybody, and thank you for having me in your show. My name is Roberto Capodieci. If my accent didn't give it away already, I am Italian because nobody's perfect. And I was born and raised in Italy. Then at age 18, I started going to the United States until I spent most of the time there. And then age 30, moved to Southeast Asia, where I'm living until now. I know I look 25, but I'm almost 50 next year.
Oh, get out of here. You don't look a day over 25. Yeah, you're right.
Right. Inside, at least, that's for sure. Yeah. And my career has been in IT since I was a little kid. I started learning coding when I was 5 years old, thanks to my father that had been teaching me. And then age 10, I implemented the first video game and started selling it. 14, with the authorization of code for minors, I started my first company. And I've been a serial entrepreneur since then. In the past 15 years, I've been into decentralization, even before blockchain with the BitTorrent protocol, peer-to-peer networks and things like that. I started several companies. I like the idea to decentralize. I think in the era of, in the age of information technology, we are in the phase of decentralizing things. And so there I am, and I've been doing several businesses. Last year I took a little bit of sabbatic time off and just to enjoy a little bit life and detox from stress. But here I am.
All right. Well, let's back up a little bit because you said a lot of interesting things really quick. I can tell you've done that a few times. You've been on a few shows, so you're really good at that. Really interested to know. I have a son who is 12 and he loves video games like a lot of boys do at that age. A lot of girls too, honestly. But like he's a creative mind. He loves to read. He really wants to try to figure something out that, to do outside of just playing, right? So he's kind of dabbling. He homeschools. He does a lot of his schooling on a computer, and he's got a coding class that he's been taking for the past year, and it's JavaScript. It's relatively basic. It kind of uses visual cues to put like coding blocks into places and kind of teach principles and stuff like that. But very often, he gets into a place where he gets an obstacle, and so he struggles with the mastering of the details because he wants to jump right to a result. So if you were talking to a young man and saying, hey, I know you're interested in this, but it's going to take a whole lot of work. I try to tell him that as his dad, but he's like, rolls his eyes, and dad, so he'll listen to this podcast. So for someone who's done it at a very young age, been successful, what kind of advice would you give a young person to how to stick with it, even through the drudgery of the monotonous coding?
It is not an easy thing because I've been lucky because 45 years ago, video games, the first things that came out were horrible. So the shift from playing a game and start coding one was very, very close. And you still need a lot of that knowledge to even manage to get some games to run. So it was an easy shift. Nowadays, games are so fascinating, so beautiful, so immersive, and are studied by psychologists to make them addictive. So it is a harder jump to go from one side of the fence to the other. So it really takes a passion from wanting to create. Yet on the other side, the tools to do incredible things are there. They were not there at the time. So it's very easy to put not too much effort and see good results. Yeah. So the beautiful thing as well is that 45 years ago, either you get to know somebody that knows and they can teach you, but there was no other resources. There was no internet. There was no Wikipedia. There were no YouTube, right? Today, the resources to learn are super available. And furthermore, after the past year, even ChatGPT is a fantastic tool if you get stuck with a problem when you try coding or finding a solution. Ask the question, and you're going to find the answer instantly. So there is no excuses. Now, today, when we want to, we can do pretty much what we want, I guess.
Yeah, I love it. There's no excuses. That's what I tell myself a lot when I get stuck on stuff. Stop making excuses, just get to it, right? I think it comes down to hunger. You got to want it enough to
that's the most difficult part today, in my opinion. It was easy to get motivated in the past. Today, distractions are so many, and so it's really the desire to jump over the fence and wanting to do things and rejecting all the other potential distraction. That's the biggest capacity. That's in effect, if you think of the paradigm, schools should not teach subject. They should teach how to learn and nothing else, because the resources to learn are all around.
Roberto, you just became one of my best friends.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I am father of 4. The oldest one is 32, lives with his girlfriend. Other are 15, 13, so teenagers, and they're in this phase that is important. The little one is 3 years old. She's going to find a planet that is so different from what we all see. But,
right? Yeah, I have 4 kiddos too, 12, 10, 5, and 2. Right. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to teach how to learn and how to solve problems and how to overcome obstacles, not necessarily just about subject matter and retention, right? Well,
and furthermore, think the difficulty of a teacher is to say after a class of 20 kids, 30 kids, how many they are, and finding an average speed to go. So leaving behind the slowest and boring as hell the best. Now with artificial intelligence, every kid can have customized teaching and learn.
And everybody learns differently, right? Like Absolutely. Some kids are auditory learners, some are visual, some are kinesthetic. They want to touch things and manipulate. And it's hard. I feel for teachers. One of my good friends in college is a teacher. He's been for 20 years now. And I don't know how he manages with a class of 30 or 40 people to bring everybody along when everybody's so different,
Following some rule given by the government, they're not very friendly into learning, into creating leaders or creating intelligent people. So yes.
So often you find that people that, and maybe we're getting off topic, but so I'd love to get your opinion. Sometimes so often you find that people in classes that maybe excel in primary or secondary school, or even in postgraduate school, and things like that, they get out into society and the world and they struggle because they've been so focused laser on the book knowledge and the application within the classroom that you get out and you're having to do this and navigate people and things like that there's a real challenge there.
Yeah, School of Life is done well is the best school, right? So learn
the school
by
of hard knocks.
Yeah, and not being afraid to also do more humbling jobs, like more things like that is to grow up. Rather than finding yourself when you come out of many years of school directly in the high position without even knowing what it means to wait a table or to, do some other kind of job. It's important to do those experiences as well, I think, on a human aspect.
Yes. So you grew up in Italy, from being born in Italy all the way to 18-ish when you moved to the States. What was it like growing up in Italy? Your childhood all the way to 18. What was that like?
Well, it was beautiful because I think it was safer than it could be today. Sure enough, it was very campanilist. It was very isolated. So there were no mixture of culture. It was quite monothematic, the things at the time. But I could go out. There was no cell phone. I would be out until 9 in the evening. And my mom knows I come back in a certain time. She will not freak out. She has no news or can control me really every moment. So the independence, the mentality of being on your own and having to solve your own problem, and not having the possibility to call for help it was a way to grow that is different from today. Italy is a nice place. I think is a beautiful surrounding to be in. I'm from Venice as well, which is a particular touristic destination. In the mainland part of Venice, not the island part of Venice, but still is a place with a lot of history and a lot of interesting things to do. Which has been interesting when I was a teenager. Meeting tourists from everywhere in the world was something very exciting to do, and exchanging ideas, learning a little bit of foreign languages and foreign culture. What motivates to travel. Marco Polo, after all, is from Venice, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a great game to play in the pool, by the way, Marco Polo. Every time we go to a hotel and I'm swimming with my kids in the pool, they always want to play Marco Polo. I'm like, do you guys even know who that really is?
Right.
But so you're saying, like, so as a teenager, you got to interact with tourists and things like that and people from other countries. What got you to the point where you know, after you were 18, you wanted to come to the US? Was it for opportunity? Was you just wanted to travel here and be a part of something different? Or
my uncle on my father's side, when he was young, he won like a scholarship and he'd been in Boston for 1 or 2 years to study. And he was very well impressed by life in this new other continent, different. Consider that if was alive today, it would be 95, 100 something. So was quite old already when I was a little kid. And he always called me Little American. I have no idea why, but this kind of brainwashed me in making sense of what was the reason for being called like that. So I got fascinated. Plus, as you may know, the culture of American movies in Europe always leave people with this idea of this place that is from the movies, right? So you want to visit. Yeah, and then when the first time I was in Chinatown in New York, I was looking, where are the cameras? Where is the directors? Same thing in Venice, California. I go around, I know this place. I've already been here now.
Yeah, in movies. And you ended up in Florida, right? Was that where your uncle lived, or?
No. Just the first time I arrived in the United States, I had no clue, because in school I was very good in mathematics and logic, but geography, history was nothing for me. Yeah. So I took a flight. I was 18 years, 1 month and 1 day, which is the minimum time to get an international driver license after getting the driver license. And I landed at LaGuardia Airport. I wanted to rent a car and discovered they rent a car only when you're 21 years old.
Yeah.
So they take me to the bus stop. I took a random bus. I ended up in Queens, Jamaica, in New York, which it was late in the night. I had my camera around my neck. It wasn't very safe what I was doing. I had no idea how big
tourist.
Right, really the dumb kid. And there I met somebody that sold me his car. And with this car, I went up to Quebec City in Canada and then down to Key West. And in this trip, I met people, I made friends, and I went back to visit the friends, and then I went to stay longer. Then, so this one thing stayed the other, and I really love to stay there.
So you really just bought a ticket and came over here and just explored.
Right. Good.
What year was that when you were 18?
I'm 74, so it was 92.
92. So 92 is an interesting time period over here, too. There was some interesting
life was
things
beautiful.
going on.
Life was very good.
Yeah, wow. So you just flew into New York, couldn't rent a car, got on a bus, ended up in Queens, and met a guy, bought his car. How much did you pay for his car?
I was shocked. In Italy, a car would cost a lot of money. And just to change ownership of the car, you will pay something like $1,000 of the time. And this guy was selling me his car for $800. Which I realized later, maybe you can get it for free at Salvation Army. I don't know, it was really the lemon. But Chrysler Fifth Avenue, there's one with
I was going to ask you, Chrysler Fifth Avenue. I know that car. My grandpa
beautiful.
Years ago had a Chrysler Fifth Avenue. Big boat.
Probably
was
hood. Your grandpa's car.
It might have been.
But to me, it was amazing. The car was in pieces. And I've been shocked as well, because on a certain point I ran too much and practically the car stopped. It was raining, so I stopped under an underpass. And I see the police stopping behind me and I think, damn, already unlucky the car breaks and now even the police. But this guy came to me and says, what happened? I says, the car is broken. Okay, open the hood. He says, you need the new oil. There is a gas station over there. I said, look how nice this guy is. In Italy, that will never happen, And,
really?
And I started walking. So where you go? I'm going to the station. No, I give you a ride. So he give me the ride. He says, I cannot pay for the oil. I says, but you want to pay for the oil? Can I buy you coffee? No. Went back, put the oil, and he followed me for a few miles to make sure that
you were
everything was okay. Came back to Italy. My car breaks on the side of the road. I see the police coming by. I waved. I went straight. So they didn't care. So I love the United States even more in the moment.
It's a funny story and that was back in the 90s, but that'll still happen. I think whether it's movies or shows or TV or media or even YouTube or whatever now, the 99.99% our officers around the country get a bad rap because of dumb
No,
stuff.
but
right?
obviously the one time that somebody do something. No, also those
Right.
confrontation is quite arrogant to the beginning. You know, I don't give you my
Yeah.
document. You know, if somebody's nice, they're nice. And you can get
Yeah.
somebody with a bad day. You know, that can happen to everybody.
Yeah, because I mean, I've had multiple times throughout my life when a police officer stopped and asked when they could tell that I needed some help, or even when I didn't, they were curious to see if I did, you know. And I've got friends that have had situations where they've had rides to a gas station because they ran out of gas and all those kind of things. And that's the service part of the job.
This is
right?
to serve and protect. That was correctly, you know, their motto. You know. I also been stopped running 120 miles per hour in a 70 or 65 miles, and they stopped me, and I didn't even realize I had like 10 cars behind me, you know.
Yeah.
And at the end, I realized I stopped. They come and say, "Are you nuts? You're going like this?" I'm Italian. I don't know kilometers, miles, I guess. To which they gave me a warning ticket only, and I learned this thing about the warning ticket, which is another incredible things, you know, like you should first, okay, now you know, next time I catch you, you pay for both, you know, like, okay, I would never do that.
Did you
again.
have a U.S. license at a time, or just the international one or Italian one? Would you have?
I had the international driver license, which I handed to the guy. The guy started looking at it. So I said, "This is your passport. Give me the driver license." No, that's the driver license. My passport is this one. They had no idea. Eventually,
my business partner, that happened to. He got pulled over a couple years ago, and I think he was in New York or something, and they pulled him over, looked at his license, saw that it was an international license that he got in India, and they gave it back to him and said, "Please, sir, just drive a little bit slower. You know, be careful." I don't think he wanted to deal with the paperwork. You know?
It was Stephen Wright, the comedian, that said he took the picture of his driver license and out of focus in purpose. So when he goes to the police officer, he go like, "Okay, just go." You know?
Just go. Whatever. Just be careful, sir. So that's funny. So you're touring around. So how long were you? So were you kind of back and forth between the states when you were 18 and?
At the beginning, it was a few months in the States, more in Italy. At the end, it was like most of the time there. But I always respected visas and also.
Yeah. So where do you call home right now?
Well, now it's 20 years I live in Bali, Indonesia. Still tropical island, similar climate to weather of Florida. So it is.
Oh, that sounds awful, Roberto. I can't believe that sounds terrible. Must be torture.
Suffering. Yes.
So what's it like living in Bali? I've never been. And I just know from the postcard pictures and, you know, things like that. What's the culture like? What are the people like? What's the activity like there?
Yeah, and it's a strange thing, you know. Bali for sure has millions of reasons to be a nice place. 99% of foreigners living here is people that came for a holiday, stay here more than a month, and went back home, sold everything, and moved here. Wow. Because it's a place that you fall in love for. You don't plan to move here. That's something you do later.
Is life expensive in Bali because of the tourist aspect?
Now it is relatively. When I first arrived, it was not. You'll be shocked. The first house I rented was a nice house with a big garden, 2 buildings, one area for the maid to stay there, garage. There were fruit trees in the garden as well. So. And I asked for how much was the rent, and the rent came up to be $750. And I'm thinking $750 a month. I said, no, it's per year. $750 per year. I said, look, these are 10 years of rent. To take them, the house is mine for 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
And then was impressive. So the house where I live now, I already paid 30 years of rent in advance. And it's a good deal because now prices are increasingly gone high. So you must have seen the movie Eat, Pray, and Love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the lady that wrote the book was staying not far from my house here. And after her book, we had a wave, an invasion of immigration from ladies that were searching for their love in Bali, you know.
So how often do you leave Bali?
I do business from Singapore, which is a good place, and it's 3 hours from here flying. Yeah. I've been in Europe pretty much every summer, every winter to stay with family and so on. And then some holiday around. I spent a lot of time in Dubai as well, which is an interesting place, mostly for business.
Yeah, for sure. So is English kind of the common language in Bali that most people are speaking in order to kind of communicate together, or?
Well, the touristic areas obviously speak English, but Indonesian. So Indonesia is a 78 years old country. It's very young, and the language has been created 75 years ago. So it's a new language that keep developing, very small vocabulary, and is the simplified version of the Malaysian language, which can be learned in a couple of weeks. There is no grammar. There is no grammar whatsoever. So if you have memory enough to remember the words, you can speak the language. It's very
easy. So you speak?
Yeah, after 20 years,
20 years,
I will be concerned about myself if I could.
You're like a local now. You might as well. You've got like a quarter of the history of Indonesia, you know.
Right. It's true, actually. Of the recent, confirmation of Indonesia was that dictatorship before, so independence can be.
So you said, professionally in your career, you were into IT at a very young age. Obviously, you're doing some coding and stuff like that. How did you parlay the things you were doing when you were very young and shift that into some more of the technology you're doing that now? Was there a period in time where you were kind of in a middle ground, and then you saw an opportunity to switch into the blockchain and things like that, or?
But that was the IT. Mostly in the past 10 years has this bubble of the topic. 2023 was artificial intelligence. 2024 will be robotics, artificial intelligence. Before it was NFTs. Before it was the other thing, And you go in LinkedIn and there is these people changing their description every year, being the most expert of whatever is the topic of the year.
Whatever the topic is, yeah.
Okay. I was interested in decentralization at the time of BitTorrent. I love the fact that people running websites where you download stuff that is not legal could get caught and the website shut down. Kazaa and all those things that we remember.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, Napster and then...
Napster, correct. Yep. So when BitTorrent came out, the regulator had to change law because BitTorrent is not one central website that you can go to. It's a network of computer where no computer is more important than the other. So you can even shut down 5 and 5 more comes out in another place. Yeah. You cannot stop. It's like a living animal made by many people that participate to this project together. And the regulator have to punish who use the system because they cannot get to after the system anymore. Yeah. And this is being also later what made Bitcoin unstoppable as well because he used the same technology, right? And this fascinated me before Bitcoin, still at the time of BitTorrent, because you can have one single big computer that is global and allow you to do several things, right? So I started studying this, and then I was at the right place in the right moment, being luck. Nothing else to be one of the OG of the moment of blockchain. But it could have been, I always say, if blockchain was invented to be solving a problem, was being invented for hairdresser, nobody will know blockchain today. Right. So because you touch money, there is an interesting topic, then it is. So I was there. That's it. Before I did a lot of things. I did a lot of consulting. I worked for law enforcement, software to do investigations. I did application of other kind, for archaeologists, cutting marbles, for plastic surgeon. I did different things. Then, it's the next when you develop software, you end up learning so many different things. And with consultancy a lot. It depends on the company I've been doing. It also did an hardware company. That's a big idea to do it. It's not easy.
So to help us lay people understand what's going on when it comes to decentralization, we got really smart people that listen. I'm mediocrely intelligent sometimes. Ask my wife, she'll tell you the truth. But so if it was maybe not the stick figure version, but pretty darn close, so that we kind of understand conceptually what's happening with centralization, like over the last period of years, how things have become more centralized. Absolutely. And why that is bad and or dangerous.
Okay, so if you think in the age we've been in the industrial age era, whatever you call it, now we are in the information era, right?
Age, sure.
And we start digitizing things. So first was analog, then we make it digital, so that can be music. Then we start transmitting this data through this network, right? And so that will be streaming of what is happening now in this case of video, audio.
What we're doing.
as much as the CD for quality of music, all these things. And the services that we can provide online, so it becomes no more a mean of communication, but also means to provide services. If you remember at the beginning, every office had their own mail server at home in the office, right? And this was, in fact, a network of mail server. So when an office sends an email to somebody else, it goes from one mail server to the other, right?
The other, yep.
Now you have a few companies that have centralized all the email. So they all stay like Gmail, Outlook, or whatever
and your Microsoft, and your Apple. Okay.
And this is happening for many other services. So we still fall into the fact that my email to you goes through the service provider, centralized, which in a certain way can decide if my email arrives to you or not, was the content right or not, etc., etc.
It can all be scanned, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there are millions of reasons why it's better not to rely on a third party that you need to trust, because so the innovation that blockchain has brought to us is not much the cryptocurrency, which is one of those use cases, but a little thing, just the tip of the iceberg, is the fact that in the digital world, you can have singularity, uniqueness. In the past, I make a copy of an MP3 file. I have 10 copies. I give to 10 friends. I don't know which is the original,
because they're
identical
copies.
Right.
Okay.
But if you think I cannot make a copy of my Bitcoin and give it to you, because then Bitcoin will be worth 0 tomorrow morning. In the moment that my Bitcoin is given to you, I don't have it anymore, which seems as something simple and obvious, but this is incredible in the world of digital things. So the silly monkey that I'm selling for $500,000, which is crazy in my opinion, so it doesn't have to be. But the interesting thing is that somebody can claim the ownership of the small image, and it's certified, and nobody can cheat, nobody can steal. So the idea that in the digital world you can have a singularity, you can have a periodic timestamping that can be verified, you have a cryptographic signature, so you have identities as well. Those are a lot of elements that allow the creation of a lot of interesting services that before could be done only by trusting a central party to say the truth. And there are cases where this is close to impossible. If you think all the supply chain, the trade that goes through different countries with different legislation and touch tens of different parties that participate in seller, buyer, shipping company, port authority, freight forwarders, for example. How you can onboard all of them in a same common rule book with the laws and legalization in order to manage something digitally. So it remains a courier with a lot of paper, because paper and pen are the minimum common denominator among all the businesses in the world. So you can send a fax, maybe you have a protocol with the fax, but what else you can do? While blockchain can give a base layer where rules of the data that are transmitted through it can be verified, right? I can send you a Bitcoin if I have it. If I don't have it, I cannot send it to you, right? This is a simple rule, but I can apply this rule to forms, bureaucracy, paperwork, etc., etc. And guaranteeing this thing, guaranteeing the identity of the person that signed, guaranteeing when it's being signed, and so on, allow the implementation of so many things that are very powerful and very needed. So this is where we're going to. And this is affecting many industries, even the gaming, going back to the kids that play the game, right? My daughter has an avatar in Roblox that must cost $2,000 between all the wings, etc., etc. And is limited to that game. She cannot take their avatar and bring it into another, I don't know, Fortnite, for example, right?
Or but Minecraft. My kids always ask me to download a pack for Minecraft or a skin, and it's $5 or $10, and I'm like, you really want to spend your money on that? I mean, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Correct. But in the moment that you have a digital asset that you own, and there is a minimum of compatibility, then you can bring it along, between one part and the other. So the evolution that there is when the World Wide Web was created, the HTML, the hyperlinked text the language, that you're reading a website about an island where they speak about a tree. You click on the link in the tree, you go in another website specialized in trees that says everything about the tree. And this was passive. So you are not considered. There is the content only. Now you can be considered. So when you go from a place to another, you can bring your identity with you. So you can bring what you have, you can bring who you are. And so when you interact in a place, the interaction and the effect of interaction are with you when you go to the next place. This is the idea of creating a potential metaverse, which doesn't exist today, but there are a lot of virtual worlds. They are trying to create a protocol for which the compatibility of your image. So if I am a blonde guy with a green jacket in one world, when I go into the other, I'm still be that with a different graphic, with the different things, but the identity is if I have a sword that I purchase for a lot of money in a game, probably I can bring it in the other game. And this is thanks to blockchain and these decentralization techniques, right?
So it sounds cool. It sounds like there's definitely some advantage to it. What are some of the disadvantages? What are some of the things that we need to be aware of that are possible? There's always a side.
Absolutely.
Two sides to the Bitcoin, right? Two sides to the blockchain. So what's the side that we need to be aware of? Not necessarily scared, because you don't want to live life in fear and stuff, but like what should we be watching for?
Is a change of paradigm, okay? Going for the simple example, if I do a transaction wrong with the bank, immediately call the bank, they can cancel the transaction. But if I send a Bitcoin to the wrong person, bye. I need to hope this person is ethical enough to send them back to me, because there is no the middleman, which is the bank, right? So in the moment that you become responsible in full for what you do, because you cannot rely on any other, so it changed a little bit the paradigm of how things work. In a place, if you think Dorsey, the ex-CEO of Twitter, when it was Twitter, spent a lot of time and money, and still working on it, to create a decentralized content management distribution, CND, okay? Because being pressured to remove content from Twitter was something annoying. If I have a distributed peer-to-peer management of the content that I cannot control, nobody can ask me to remove something, because it's not mine. It's not me that have the power to remove it. I can give you just the interface to assess the thing. So in a world where things are decentralized, we cannot regulate what is being put inside. Okay, obviously somebody get caught putting some illegal material should be arrested, right? But what I'm trying to say is that the content goes in. The paradigm shift is that I need to choose what I want to consume from a decentralized network. So the filter is at the consumption part, not at the feeding part, because it's very individual, the choice. There is no middleman that can say, hey, no, you cannot post this. You cannot add this information, right?
How is it that, or is it possible, and some of this might be some foresight and some predictive kind of thought on your part, is it possible that, like what I, on a very basic level, when I think about it, a lot of times when new things come along, they're great. It's like the wild, wild west. There's a lot of cowboys and a lot of do what you want. And then it's sooner or later, people get a hold of it and find out how to pull in the reins, and then almost turn the tables on, and leverage it against the people using it to some degree. So what are some of the ways that either, whether we say regulatory bodies are trying to get a grasp on it to use it a certain way, or even people using it for nefarious means to, if I have a profile that follows me everywhere and everything about me there, and could that potentially be hijacked and used against me or something like that?
Technically, the security is to the top level because you use cryptography. So now I'm not talking about quantum computer that can break cryptography. Let's pretend that we always follow the best, methodology, so we're always secure, okay? Because if quantum computer can break all cryptography, there is cryptography that quantum computer cannot break. So that's simple on one side. On the other aspect, which is more the human aspect of using of tools, technology has no opinion. So technology is not decide to be bad or good, right? It's how people use it.
It's the user. Exactly.
Yeah. So how you handle this? Think about I have a very nice analogy if you think between BitTorrent and Bitcoin, okay?
Okay.
When BitTorrent came out, the big lobby of music and movies, they had not much to lobby government. They did lobby government to get just somebody arrested and put in 200 years of prison for just a few pirate stuff that they had, just to scare people from using this tool. Because ignorance and fear, so when something is unknown, you are scared of something unknown because you don't know it, right? If they were smart or they were taking the time to analyze the technology, they had a network supported by third party where they can sell their content in the most remote village of the most remote country, where their boxes with CD or DVD will never arrive intact, okay?
Yeah.
So a lot of people will be happy to pay for something that they cannot find in a shop, they cannot find somewhere else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they missed an opportunity that was huge. End up looking bad and not looking very, nice to the consumer. When Bitcoin came out, a lot of central bank started acting the same way. Illegal, forbidden, arrest people, and many others started saying, maybe we can use this technology for us. There are a lot of good. So they start trying to buy the technology by investing in it, right?
Yeah, and owning it, right?
This is dangerous for the people that are revolutionary, want to, Bitcoin is born just as a middle finger to the financial system, right? But the reaction...
Take away our cash, we're going to use this so
correct.
That you can't turn off our money, right? Yeah.
Right, that's exactly the point. But at the end, when you build the good alternative, then you can start regulating what people can use or not, right? So they had a much more intelligent approach to trying to control the thing. Because if I have two alternatives, they do the same thing. One is illegal, one is legal. Everybody would choose the legal one, right? Why choosing the other one? But if there is no alternative and the only one is one, people are going to use it, right? So on the psychological aspect, that's the move that they did, and it's smart in most countries, not everywhere. While on the other side, for distribution of music, somebody took over later, first Apple with the music store in Apple, then Netflix for the movies, the famous story between Blockbuster and Netflix, right?
Yeah, that's an amazing story.
Yeah, correct. That's exactly what happened when new technology come out and people... When I was a kid and I had my company to do computer software, etc., digital cameras started coming out. In my city, all the photographers had this big Kodak machine where you put inside the roll, you see, smoke a cigarette in the meanwhile, the photo comes out, right? Only one photographer saw this change and thought about, so he bought computer, he wanted to learn how to do graphic editing, etc., become super specialized in digital photography. All the other went bankrupt because people were not bringing them the roll to put in the machine anymore.
Didn't
so the Homer Simpson pressing the button was useless. But the guy that did the digital survived,
Yep.
And this has to be in every technology. Now with artificial intelligence, this is going to be a huge tsunami of changing.
It's the story, it's the never ending cyclical story of business and economics. The story of, back in, I think it was the 60s with Kmart, the Kresge family was approached by Walton, the creator of Walmart, and was laughed out of the room. And he said, fine, I'll just go do it myself. His first store was funny and he had donkeys and cows and a petting zoo outside. And
right.
There was all kinds of problems to solve, but look who put who out of business,
right.
And it's a similar thing with Amazon and everybody else right now. And a lot of people have evolved their platforms to be like Amazon for distribution and delivery and stuff.
Funny enough, when I first came to the United States, there was this huge problem of shopping mall bankrupting downtowns. And every downtown was all a wooden board on the window of the shop, a lot of drug addicts around, etc., etc. And I saw the transformation. I saw how government changed tax rules and all, and they transformed them down in boutique places with very expensive shop, like mostly there in Sarasota, where I was staying in Florida.
Yeah, it happened here, in Wisconsin, in small towns. There was a revival of local marts and markets and things like that.
Right. But this is a psychological approach, an opportunity given. In Italy, this drama is happening now. And it doesn't matter how much I tell people, I saw this happen. We should learn from there, how they change.
And
But,
what's happening now? The shopping malls are ghost towns
closing
now.
down.
They're closing down and they're tearing them down because people aren't leaving their house and they're just getting stuff shipped
Online, correct. And it keeps changing like this. Absolutely.
Yep. So you're doing some other stuff too. I saw so Matt put together a little document for me talking about one of the other things you're doing. You're a chief technology officer for something called SimFly.
Yes.
So we got online, kind of looked at this, and we're like, what is going on? I saw this map and little airplanes pointed everywhere. I'm like, is that really like flights happening? And then what is going on with that?
This is something that blew my mind almost literally, meaning that nosebleed was the minimum I could get when I realized what it was. So as I was telling you, it took sabbatic time, but sabbatic for me doesn't mean don't work. I'm working with an artificial intelligence company, and this
so that was your sabbatical. You just got to work doing something else.
Exactly, correct.
You couldn't go outside to the beach and paint the ocean or
too easy.
Read a book. Maybe.
Besides, I am so big that if I go to the beach, Greenpeace is going to come and push me back in the water.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Anyways.
I like you even more now. That's good.
This SimFly is a startup that four people came to me and asked if I could help with Web3 things. And I said, okay, I'll give you 1 day per month, just pro bono, which became 1 day per week, which became every day. And then suddenly I said, guys, okay, I am really putting a lot of effort here. So I became 20% owner of the business. Okay. What it is a play to earn. And play to earn are famously scams, okay? I've been in blockchain from day zero, and I never did an ICO because I find them unethical, okay? And in fact, a lot of ICO end up to be really either failing or scam from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Play to earn is another dress for those ICO. It's a lot of scam. And if you think logically, a play to earn sounds like a Ponzi scheme. How can you take out something from a box if you don't put it in one side? So how can you pay? But sure enough, I analyzed this thing. I designed a token economy, and this thing is ethical, and it makes sense in all means. So it's not a simple game that you press the button and you earn the coin that you need to buy the other thing. This is, in terms of economy, it responds to all the laws of economy. So first of all, the target audience is people that fly with the flight simulators, okay? And to fly an airplane with a flight simulator, you need to know how to pilot an airplane. It's not a video game that you sit there and run the car. And, if you don't know what lever was which, what things to move, how to call, you don't even move the airplane from where it is when you start the game. So it is not a game. It is something that a passion people do. Is a retired pilot, is people that really love to fly. And it's people that invest a lot of money because the computer that they use must be powerful graphic cards, powerful computer, sometimes 3 or 4 monitor to have the perspective all around. Other time they buy all the gears from actual airplane.
Right, yeah.
They have there is people that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to do all the hydraulic cabins so you feel the movement like if you're flying, right? So now, it's not that anybody that register can actually play. And they love the idea of simulation. So everything has to emulate the reality. And there was not before us the emulation of the financial aspect of all the industry of aviation. So even though they organize themselves in virtual airlines, they like to say 8:30, you need to start flying the airplane from Venice to New York. You need to load the passenger. And it's like a metaverse because it's multi-user. So when you see the other airplane queuing to take off, it's another person somewhere else that is actually flying with the flight simulator. And when you saw the map in SimFly, those are all people that are at home with the flight simulator. It looks like Flight Radar with actual airplane, right?
Yeah, because when I was looking at it, I saw like flight schedules. I saw boarding numbers. I saw all this, like the plane that was being flown, the model number. So is it using all the same software? Is it different simulators that are being used that kind of integrate into the platform?
Now we support three different simulators, but we are adding them on. Consider we launched very recently.
Yeah.
And these people are people at home. They install our plugin. So we take the data when they're flying, we show them the map, and we allow them to do missions, right? And if they fly, they earn a token. But this token, we don't, issue just in airdrop. This is only earned by flying. Means has a value because there is a work that
so
is
do they
done
earn coins based on the miles in the successful flight?
Correct, exactly. If they do a landing that is softer rather than harsh, and so on, what kind of airport, kind of license they have. And people can buy airports, and they earn based on the amount of people landing and taking off from the airport. Or buy aircrafts and renting them out to people for flying. So it is a simulation of the economy that has an internal turn. So buying the Dubai airport costs $100,000 or tokens per se.
Tokens.
Not because I expect somebody come with an incredible credit card and purchase that, but because the career that you do and the growth that you do slowly may arrive in a few years to purchase those. So it is an interesting ethical play to earn that I never saw elsewhere. And it works because it's attached to actual knowledge needed and actual work, so it's limited by that aspect.
So they're playing to earn within a closed economy within the game's rules kind of world, right?
Right. The token economy is simple like this. When somebody earn a token, the token is minted. When they spend the token to buy assets, it's destroyed. So in circulation, there are only the token that being earned, but not yet used. It is allowed to automatically scale. If there are 1,000 users, there is a certain amount. If there are 10,000 users, the amount grows. And when they reduce the user, the consumption reduce the token. So it's very interesting. And they can exchange because those are tokens that work in the blockchain. So people can resell it to others, other things. So also the airport, the license are NFTs that people can exchange and sell outside our website, outside our control. The beauty of the unicity of a set in the blockchain, right?
Right. That's very interesting. That's something else. I mean, I think that's really neat. And you guys just launched this within the past year, did you say?
The first of January was the first day out of beta. But the website is on and the community is grown. We have 8,000 pilots at the moment that are registered. And we started about 1 year ago to implement the website. So
the only folks that are really involved in it that are actually kind of playing in it are pilots. There's not like attendants and other employees of the airport or even passengers that are involved in it, or
eventually there is people that do the control tower that monitor.
Yeah.
There is people that do that. The idea of having a passenger is something that I think can be done because the cabin inside the airplane can be, you can walk virtually and sit in any seat and,
and could you have an experience in there,
Absolutely. But this is something that is not yet implemented, but
down the road.
Something that can be done.
Yeah, because you need the ability to, let's say you're on a plane that can hold 200 people, could you possibly, with the proper compute power, on servers, cloud servers, to have 200 people in one environment, like they do in a game where they're shooting at each other.
Because it's each individual person that elaborate their own data. What is shared around is just some information, but the rendering is done locally. No, it can be done absolutely. And there are games where this happens.
That are doing that just in different capacities, right? Wow.
Yeah, and I think during the pandemic, the people could not fly in Singapore. Singapore Airlines was selling round-trip one-way tickets. So people would enter the airplane, they would fly on top of other few countries and land back in Singapore.
Just to let people get around.
Just because the people is addicted to flight and they need to do so.
So one of the things that you mentioned that you end up talking about a lot is how people can avoid getting scammed and getting involved in the wrong kind of things. So what are some maybe the top couple tips that you could give our folks listening or watching to, if they're intrigued by what they're hearing and they want to learn more, but they don't want to get involved in something that it's going to bite them. What should we be doing?
Well, I have actually a podcast where I participate as one of the hosts, where I have my series that is called Conquest. That is really the con artist and Quest the one chasing. And there are a lot of YouTubers that spend their time, educating. the key things is when it's too good to be true, think twice. So discuss with friend if it's possible that some deal is so good. In fact, people that scam usually try to rush people in making decision fast. If somebody is trying to rush to make a fast decision, always hang up.
Make it seem really urgent, right? Like you got to do this now.
Urgency is a key, exactly, because people don't have the time to elaborate and think. So yeah, if somebody receive a message saying from the phone number of their son or husband saying I'm in trouble, I need your help, try to call them back and see if they really send the message or somebody spoofing the phone number. Even the voice now with deep fake is easy to even see a video a little blurry maybe, or hearing the voice that is exactly the voice of this person saying things that this person never said, So always never trust what you see or hear if you're not seeing or hearing this in person.
It's a real world we're living in now, right?
Unfortunately, the victim is always the most fragile people that don't even think about this. In fact, the education is usually toward the family members or close friend or loved one or people elderly, that can be a victim. Right? Can be elderly, can be people that simply are too trusty, by nature.
Yeah, I'll get calls all the time, and I won't answer the ones that say scam likely, but I rarely answer the ones I don't recognize. But when I do, and you get that pause before anybody talks, I'm always like, I'm not going to say anything else. Or they're just going to try to record my voice and digitize it and use it in other ways and try to get people to do things that they're not supposed to do.
Yeah, in Italy, even telemarketer were asking, are you interested? You say yes. And then they were using this yes to put it after, are you accepting the offer to purchase something?
Yeah, and that's what worries me.
Yeah, correct. So
wow.
One more time, cryptography would allow to guarantee that I accepted because I signed cryptographically something, right? Rather than saying yes with my voice.
Yep. So, when you're not seriously, taking sabbaticals, not actually on vacation, you're working hard developing new companies, and you're not working on what you're working on, what are you doing for fun? Do you have hobbies? Do you have things you enjoy to do? Is it spending time with family? Is it travel? Is it...
obviously, I spend time with family because, that's the biggest pleasure that I have. The little 3-year-old daughter is like a bomb of joy. It's fantastic. But unfortunately, my hobby is my work. So I end up doing this until 3 a.m. just because I love it.
If you love it, it's not work, right?
Correct.
My wife, I was working last night. She's like, honey, are you working? And I'm like, it's not work if I'm having fun.
Correct. So... yeah, but I like also now to prepare more different things. I explore. So like with artificial intelligence, which is not only a trend, but something I've been interested but never understood deeply. In the past year and a half, I did a very big deep dive. So I'm running model and training model in my computer and doing agent application, which is fascinating. But, because also people expect Roberto must know. So they come to me with any questions. So better have been ready to give a good answer, something.
So you got to keep up with those things so you can talk intelligently about it. But nothing kind of like offline, do you enjoy a certain type of entertainment, sport, or any kind of thing like that?
Well, sport, I don't like to watch sport because I rather would do it, but I'm not physically out to do sport. I mean, at least it's walking to the refrigerator and back, which I'm very good at. But
that could be a skill.
I like motorcycle. I like motocross. I used to do a lot of that in the past. And
so you used to ride motorbikes, dirt bikes?
Right, yes, correct, dirt bikes, yes. I'm now for speed. I had Harley Davidson, slow bikes where you enjoy life, and dirt bikes are nice. I like to jump because I like also with skiing and jumping. Skiing is one of the things I love to do as well. But in Bali, there is not much to ski.
There's no hills or mountains.
So in the winter in Italy, yes. And yes, and going out, Bali is beautiful to visit. There are a lot of beautiful things to do. Or traveling, I like to take holidays in Thailand. I have a lot of friends over there. I go visit often. So most of things are around here, easy. Whenever I want something, I have a nice swimming pool outside. I jump in the swimming pool.
Yeah. So so you're what's the food scene like in Bali? Can you go to get any type of food you want at a restaurant, or are there markets where you can get lots of good fresh stuff? You can come home and prepare it.
Yeah, being a touristic destination, there are restaurants of every sort,
like
From
hidden
breakfast
gems
to
that
dinner, you can really choose. There are steakhouse, there is anything Italian, French, Thai, all sort. If you go more inside in the villages in Indonesia, you have a choice between fried rice, fried rice, fried rice, fried rice. So maybe sometimes they have a fried rice. now, I say these things because it's funny. When you move in a different culture, everything seems the same. But when you live here, after a while, each one has a different connotation. So you learn to appreciate them. And being more, very variegated because, as I was saying, as being united recently, and they are very several different languages. So there is different food for each area of Indonesia, which makes this an interesting place to discover in terms of food.
What's your favorite style of food of choice?
I'm Italian. What I can tell you.
Well, hey, but you could ask me. Now I don't eat a whole lot of pasta and stuff anymore because I was trying to get healthier. But Italian was my go-to.
Italian in Europe there is a huge culture of food. I think Italian is the most moderated because it doesn't push too much in every direction. A little bit like the language. If I hear Spanish people talking, which I love, I can stay hours to listen to the Spanish accent. To me, it's people that party. How can you do something else in your life? You speak Spanish. French people, they're all romantic because the language. How can you be upset? German people is always upset even when they say I love you to their girlfriend with the language. No? Italian is a language where you can go through every state with different, use of grammar and accent. So it is interesting. And the food follow the same thing. And there is so much moderation in food that you can go from, one taste and another, but making it acceptable. That's why it's famous in the world, I think. Second,
it's such a universal food, right? Yeah. Italian. I mean, correct. It's like, who hasn't had pizza? Maybe not real Italian pizza, but who hasn't had pizza? And who hasn't had spaghetti? And who hasn't had lasagna? And who has, it's like, you can't go wrong. My daughter's favorite food is fettuccine Alfredo. And
which doesn't exist in Italy, interestingly enough. But
isn't that funny?
But that is so common that even becomes customized for other locations. So it is for sure a nice food. Thai food for Asian food, I think, is the nicest. Korean as well, very nice.
I like spicy foods. Do you like spicy food?
To a certain extent. You need to pay attention when you come into this part of the world that's for spicy because it can be something forbidden.
It will kill you. Like I said, my business partner Manny, who's usually here next to me, he's just been AWOL for a couple of weeks. He loves spicy food, and we had Indian food in Chicago the other day, authentic Indian, and we asked for spicy. He's like, I want spicy, really spicy, and they brought it out, and it wasn't spicy. It was like American spicy. He's like, no,
absolutely
spicy, and they came back, and it's like, okay, I can barely tolerate that.
But for me, the problem with Indian food is that 3 days later I get out of the toilet. Because really
it will wreck you. It will wreck you. If you're like, you go into it knowing you might as well just cancel all your meetings for a couple days. Zoom meetings maybe because you can mute it. But if you got in-person stuff, you might as well just cancel.
But on the other side, it's delicious. In Singapore, I ate the best Indian food, but exactly with this problem attached to it.
So good. Like both of my business partners are from India, and one of them, his mom lives here in the States with him, and her name is Rosie. And anytime I visit, she cooks food. She's like, "You're looking so skinny. You need some meat on your bones." She makes me sit down and just piles food in front of me, and it's so good. Yeah, so much flavor and like spices and like so many different things going on. But you're right. It will, because I don't eat it every day. It runs right through you for a while. It's not fun.
It's a choice. Pleasure comes with the consequences. Right?
Hey, I know you do a lot of podcasting because, leading up to it, I wanted to see what you look like and see what you sound like so I could interact with you and feel familiar. And what are some things, and you're doing all these shows, it's almost like a circuit. What are some things you don't get to talk about often that you wish you would, or you wish would come up? Are there some things that, that you'd like to kind of share about, or you wish you'd get asked about more often?
My dream is to do stand-up comedy. One day, really? I guess, when I'm going to be 80 years old, I'm going to debut in this. And it's not easy. I study humor since I was a little kid. That's the other things beside computer that I really put the psychology aspect of humor, jokes in different country based on the culture of the place, is the education. Because humor reflects IQ. how the jokes, and you see how a country is going by what makes people laugh in television. If it's just dirty words and on stupid things, you see that the audience.
People think that on the outside, people think that comedians are like your class clowns, or that your people just cut up and they're goofy and they're not intelligent. It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. They're introspective. They're intelligent. They're very melancholy and detail-oriented because they notice the things that if you point out in a certain way, it's very funny because it's true and it's obvious. And sometimes it's ridiculous, right? Have you ever tried to get up on stage and entertain people?
That's has been traumatic. I went in an open mic and I did my act and people were laughing so hard. They was acclaimed, huge claps, like a success. So much that they insisted that I go back the next day. I couldn't even do 3 seconds. I was booed out of the stage.
The next day, because it was a different group of people?
I don't know. I didn't start well. Probably was a coincidence the previous time I did the right thing. I don't know. But yet, that shouldn't be the motivator. But,
How did you feel when you did it? Was it like a rush, a surge? Were you?
When I was 14, I dropped computer for a year and I did a magic show on stage. I did, levitating.
You've done all kinds of stuff, Roberto. Man.
Yeah, but that's interesting. But it's teacher because the tricks on themselves are mechanical stuff. So it's nothing. You don't have to become a wizard. So it's really following the music, following the act, making the show. And I was young. And once, because I was the youngest in Italy, part of the Magic Lab. So they called me for an important show and there were about 5,000 people in the public. And when you go out on the stage, you have 10,000 eyes looking at you, expecting something, you freeze. I became made of ice in a second. Thank God the music started, and then I start going with my routine. But I had my 15 minutes of fame. I was in all the TV shows in Italy, in the talk show, and that really helped me to learn to deal. Usually, I was drinking a vodka or two before going to calm down the tension. Yeah. And after a while, I learned to be okay. To do it. For sure, for people to start, you need to understand that it's all in your head. There is no reason to be nervous. But when television was coming to interview me, the camera in front, the journalist asking questions, I was shaking. I couldn't talk, and they were like, "Calm down."
Well, it's one thing when you perform, like I play music in front of people,
all right,
and then even when I'm doing sales presentations that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you have all this preparation and this build up and this mastery, and then you perform in front of the people and it goes good or whatever, and you get done. What I struggle with is the after. Is like, it's almost like this vacuum. I don't know what to do next.
The down that comes after when it's finished.
Right. Because you get so far up, it's like, whew.
This is chemicals in the body that do this process. Absolutely.
I'm like, I almost feel like out of body, like where I'm here, things are happening, but I can't get into this rhythm outside of that for at least a couple hours. It's very strange.
Touches. Yeah, it's very individual, but yes, I can associate with that. It's no more now. It's really natural. I speak at conferences constantly. There's been a period of time.
That kind of stuff, not so bad. Yeah. But so you want to be a comedian? I'd love to see that. I'd come to your show in a heartbeat.
Yeah, if I'm brave enough, I will start something under a different pseudonym.
You could just get a little space in Bali there, and tourists can come and see your show. Maybe maybe you have some opening magic acts. Right? That would be cool. That would be cool. Next thing you know, you'll be in Vegas. You'll be headlining a hotel in Vegas.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, hey, Roberto, this has been great. I know we're about 5 minutes over an hour here. Time went by so fast. This might be
time was
the fastest it felt like a show went by for me. I am just floored with you. Seem like an amazing guy. And again, thanks so much for being here with us. Thanks.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I'm happy to do it again whenever you guys want.
Oh, that will happen. I will make sure, Matt, put them on the list.
We can be more thematic, talk about homeschooling kids, talk about,
there's all kinds of stuff to do.
Right.
I might have a flight simulator in my basement by then.
There you go. Super.
I might own an airport or two by then.
Tell me, I give you a discount coupon.
All right. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you.